Hello humans, Master Dinnerflex here, bringing you low quality content you deserve, and today I'm going to be doing a very quick update on my Lair of Darkness deck. Again, I tried to get it on my phone, but it wouldn't record, so I might invest in a camera one of these days. But anyways, I wanted to show you what I've been testing. And like, this is all theory. This is also a lot based on what's coming next format rather than what's already here. Because we're probably not going to have this list for too much longer. But I just wanted to test out some cards and see how they would do. And I'll explain the ratios and I'll explain the theories a lot, because if you're really interested in Lair of Darkness, this is probably a video you want to like watch all the way through. So let's get into this. So for the boss monsters, one Diablos, one Malefic Stardust, one BLS, and one Chaos Sorcerer. This is all theoretical building. This isn't a finished product by any means. But Diablos is self-explanatory. The reason it's at 1 though is because it conflicts with ties, and it conflicts with, strange enough, Lair of Darkness. So the thing about Lilith and Rima is they are only good if you are attributing things not themselves to activate their effects. And with Lair of Darkness, you get to attribute your opponent's monsters, obviously. But if you search with Arena by attributing an opponent's monster, you can't summon that Diablos unless you have another attributing thing going on, which you most likely won't unless you already had a Lilith up. And if you had a Lilith up, you're probably going to have to attribute one of your own monsters. So in that situation, it's bad. If you activate ties at all and it's in your hand, you can't use it. And if you're ever having to tribute Arima or Lilith to their own effect, you're probably in a very bad situation. And in that case, yeah, he's kind of fine to summon. It can kind of help you survive because they have to use quite a few cards to get rid of it. But ultimately, the main reason he's in the deck is with Arima. Because if you're attributing either a Torment token or one of your Dark monsters while you have Lair up, he's just so oppressive, because not only do you summon him, but you use his effect with Lair to tribute to out an opponent's monster and then knock a card out of their hand, and like, you don't even have to OTK them, because the way this deck works is as soon as you have more cards that disrupt your opponent than your opponent has cards, you have immediately won the game. And forcing a -2 on your opponent automatically can get you to that scenario. And I'm going to explain what all the disruptions are too. But yeah, Diablos, you only want to see it when you want to see it. So it's searchable, which is fine. And he's really big and he's really oppressive in this deck. And this deck actually just doesn't win without the boss monsters. Even though you can win games without summoning a boss monster, this deck is just really far behind without them, and I just want to have a deck that can still kill them. Malefic Stardust, I already explained this. I'm down to 1 now because playing multiple Malefics is kind of going against what I originally wanted this deck to do, which was play without Lair of Darkness, but Lair of Darkness just makes the deck function better, but it doesn't make the deck function. But Malefic Stardust kind of contradicts that in a way, playing multiples at least, because it pretty much means I have to see Lair of Darkness to use this. And if I'm protecting an opponent's field spell to summon this, then that's like not very good. But either way, it's still a very good card to search. It's a very good card to draw too if you have Lair, because it pretty much means, like I said with Lilith and Arima earlier, as long as you're attributing something that's not themselves, it's very good. And Stardust, just making a dark body you're just attributing immediately, is good. And even if not, you can always just put it on the field to protect Lair from like Ghost Ogre, Phoenix, and Twin Twisters, which is always nice. So yeah. One of those, I'll explain the last two boss monsters later. So triple Arima, it gets you to Lair Darkness, or it's just a deck thinner or a draw card. Pretty nice. And then the ties targets for it are Abyss and Card Guard. I really like these cards because they make ties more consistent, but at the same time, they are very obviously very good at bricking a hand that you don't necessarily want to brick. And the thing about Barrier Statue of the Abyss is Dark is probably, even to this day, probably the most powerful attribute still. So you can expect them to still summon things you don't want them to summon with this card. And as soon as we get Orphagel, this card will be probably taken out of the deck because it'll have no use anymore. But with that being said, it's still right now very powerful against Trickstar, Goki, just a lot of things. It's very, very good. And then summoning it with the Card Guard makes it to where they have to out it twice, which is very good. And then afterwards, you just tribute the Card Guard to either get a search or draw, which most of the time is a draw because you always want traps to back up the Barrier Statue. Then we got Triple Lilith, the best card in the deck. Well, one of the best cards in the deck. It's literally the engine. It's how you get to all your traps. It's how you get to all your deck thinning. It, with Lair of Darkness, is a trap that after trapping your opponent, searches a trap, which is insane. And it is a disruption with Lair. And like I was saying earlier, that as soon as you get to more disruptions than your opponent has cards, you've won. They can't win. It doesn't even matter if they have Soul Charge at that point, because you can still just lock them out. And then for the ties target, Sangan, I'll explain this more soon when we get the hand traps. 1 Tour Guide and 1 Skarm. Skarm is absolutely the worst part of this. He's the most bricky card in here. Yes, he searches literally all the level 3 fiends, but he has no synergy with anything. He can't help you push for game, but even in those scenarios, you can always just set him and tribute him, which is not terrible, but it's just, he's very clunky, and he's only good when you have access to ties, or he's only good with ties. If you draw him alone with like no other cards, he's worthless. Like 2000 defense is nothing, especially if they can Called by the Grave as a fact. He's not good, but you have to play them because as bad as he is, every other like level 3 fiend is much worse. It's crazy. Tour Guide is very good. I'll explain that soon. And Sangan, he's the best other ties targets from Lilith, because if you're cycling him with not only ties but back to the front, it pretty much means when you tribute him with Lilith, not only are you getting a trap card, but you're also getting a hand trap, which means for the cost of 1 card, you're getting 2 disruptions. So that's very good. And Tour Guide is usually searched with Skarm. I don't search Lilith anymore. And the reason I don't search Lilith is because usually Lilith has her own protection with Lair, and you're obviously searching traps. And what Tour Guide will summon is an effect negated Lair, which means, not Lair, Lilith, which means it won't get its effect, obviously, but it can still tribute your opponent's stuff under Lair. But more importantly, it's actually just a, like, it's a card that allows you to go into the extra deck, which is kind of important. So yeah, one of this. For the hand traps, these are all odd ratios, but it makes sense when you realize these aren't going second cards as they are going first cards. And what I mean by that is, you don't use Ash to try to draw it in your opening hand. You're actually using all these hand traps as a toolbox to search with Sangan. If this is testing for next format, we won't. If Goki's gone, you don't need nearly as many hand traps as people are playing right now, because the only reason people are playing most of these hand traps is just because Goki exists. Like, hand traps in general are just are just kind of weak disruptions in comparison to normal traps or just engine cards. Like, they're very clunky. They don't have synergy with anything. They take up space in your deck that you kind of want to use for something else. Like, obviously some hand traps are so good that it just doesn't matter. But at the same time, there are also a lot of hand traps that are not very good, but you're forced to play. But the thing is with Sangan is I can make a situation to where I'm not just searching the same thing over and over again. I have a toolbox, and toolboxes are very important in a trap stun kind of anti-meta deck. You don't want to flood your hand with a hand trap you can only activate once per turn. So if you have a Ghost Ogre in hand, you want to search a Ash, or if you have an Ash in hand, you want to search an Ogre or a Veiler. And all of them have different applications from each other. Like Ash is a very good way to bait out Called by the Grave, so you can resolve Sanctum. Because after they Called by the Grave your Ash, they can't Ash your Sanctum. Ghost Ogre is very good because it has synergy with Back to the Front, where you can just reuse it from the graveyard. And Effect Veiler is very good because it stops a lot of things that you wouldn't expect it to. A lot of times Effect Veiler is better than Ash, and in a very combo heavy deck. Like, it's really, really good against combo decks because certain effects they need to resolve, and if you just turn their firewall off, they have to have a lot of extenders to get to the extra link, which is pretty cool. But at the same time, Effect Veiler also has an application where it stops a monster without removing it from the field, so you can still use it with Lair of Darkness, which is pretty cool. And the last three monsters are 2 Sights and 1 Moral Talk. Ultimately, the reason I'm doing 3 sites for 3's, not 3 sites, 3 artifacts for 3 sanctums is because your deck obviously has an engine of getting to trap cards, which means you're probably going to be resolving more than 1 sanctum per turn. It's also a trap deck, so sometimes you do need to resolve multiple just to not lose. But also, in general, the reason that it's not just like a bunch of sites is because it is a trap deck, and sometimes, like, if a person is going up against a trap deck, they sometimes know that they don't need to overextend. They don't need to go into their engine. The ultimate thing you need to do against a trap stun deck is you just need to put pressure by resolving as little cards as possible. And if your opponent is smart enough to realize that, then Scythe is going to start not doing much. But with Moral Talk, it also punishes that gameplay too. If they try to next level you, well, you have the next level for that. And also against like other stun decks, or even decks that just don't need to function in the extra deck, like they can play around it. You always want Moral Attack for those situations. And again, it's like a toolbox for Sanctum, which is very important in a trap deck. For the spells, very, very few spells. Just 3 Lair, 3 Ties. You never want to tribute Lilith and Arima for their effects, like I said. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And for the traps, 3 Sanctum, 3 Compulse, 3 Back to the Front, and 3 Impermanence. I obviously don't have this card in real life. That card's insanely expensive right now, and if I'm gonna get it, it's gonna be a while. But ultimately, this card is very good in here because not only is it a hand trap when you're going second, but going during the game, you can use Lilith to set this in any column you want, which is really, really cool. It's pretty much just that. Yeah, it's a hand trap that has actual synergy with the deck. Usually, in a lot of scenarios, I don't like Impermanence as a hand trap. I much more like it as an actual trap. But at the same time, it's just really powerful that it has both those applications, and you can set it to a column you want. Compulse, I already explained earlier, this card's really, really stupid. It's actually insanely powerful. It's probably, of all these traps, this is the best trap in here, because it's proactive, reactive, always live, and an infinite, it has infinite uses. Whereas Sanctum, it's more powerful, but it's much more fragile, and it's much more finite, because it's only as good as the artifact it can get, and it can be stopped by hand traps. But Compulse is just so powerful. There's almost no counters to it outside of like trap negation, which isn't common. Yeah, it's extremely good. And like you can even use it on your own monsters to protect or dodge, or just things like that. Push for an OTK if you're under Malefic Stardust. Just so good. Back to the front, it's a proactive trap, but a lot of the times you're grabbing back reactive monsters like Lilith while you have Lair, or a Scythe, or a Moral Talk, or even a Ghost Ogre. And then, or even a Dark Barrier statue, and in that case, it's a proactive card that gets you back engine pieces that acts very reactively, which is very good for a trap in here. I really like it. And the last two monsters I want to mention are BLS and Chaos Sorcerer. So obviously, if you're taking a look at this, the engine you're playing gets you to light monsters playing a dark deck. So chaos monsters, they seem like they do really well, and to be totally honest, they have actually been working great. The issue is though they're another, like, the reason they're at the back of the deck is because it's only theory testing right now. The cards themselves, they clutter a lot in an opening hand. And in a stun deck, you always want your opening hand to be live, which is not good. But with that being said, if you've got to the normal part of your engine, you can summon either of these. And the reason, and I'll explain the difference between BLS and Chaos Sorcerer. So, Chaos Sorcerer I'll mention first is searchable with Arima, which is kind of big because it means you can tribute an opponent's monster to search a monster that outs another opponent's monster, which it's one of the things I was saying about Diablos, is that even though it's like Lord of the Lair, it actually conflicts a lot with Lair, because if you're searching with Arima, you have to do, and you want to summon it, you have to tribute one of your own monsters, and that's not always great. But with that being said, Chaos Sorcerer is one of those monsters where you can tribute your opponent's stuff to out another opponent's monster, and then afterwards it's also a dark body, so you can use it with like Lilith and whatnot, or Arima again for later. But yeah, that's pretty good, and because they're semi-nomies, you can always bring them back with Back to the Front. But BLS, well, you can't search it. It is infinitely more powerful, because the good part of BLS, it's not it banishing cards. Its good effect is that you can randomly push for game, just because. This is a deck that gives your opponent tokens during their end phase, which is like not great. Like, even though you contribute them, you kind of don't want to give your opponent stuff they can use, because even if they can't use it, that's still blocking you from killing them. But BLS allows you to push an OTK through a Torment token, or sometimes two, depending on your situation. And that's really, really powerful in this deck, because it pretty much means the Torment token, you can OTK through a Torment token, which traps are cool, but you still got to kill your opponent. Oh, god damn it. And BLS is one of those cards that can just do it. He's not searchable, and he clutters a lot, but ultimately, just like, he's so powerful. Like, it's absurd. I don't know how I'm going to end, like, how the finished build of this deck's going to look, but don't be surprised if you see BLS in here. Probably not Chaos Sorcerer, because it's neat to search it, but it's another cluttering card. And yeah, BLS is just insane. Just super, super powerful. And you do have a lot of deck thinning in here anyway, so it's not absurd that you see it, because you got Arima to like do 2 draws per turn, and like you have Lilith deck thinning your deck, Sanctum deck thinning, Ties deck thinning, Sangan deck thinning, Scarm, Tour Guide. All those cards like get you cards out of your deck, so it's not absurd to see it. For the side deck, everything's pretty much the same, except I replaced the Malefic Cyberends with 3 Hey Trunade, because I recently learned my worst matchup is against Sky Striker, because they are a trap deck that their traps are spells, and spells are naturally faster than traps, so it's like a super, super rough matchup, but like this whole like side deck is meant to combat that, and it's meant to combat many other things too, so that's good. The extra deck, Pallades, I know it conflicts with Lair when you have 2 artifacts out, but if you have 2 artifacts out with Lair, you don't need to make this. You're probably just tributing their stuff with Lilith, and you're about to win anyways. But if you don't have Lair Darkness, it's always nice to have that quick play removal on the field. And yeah, that's pretty much it. He's very, very powerful anyways. Then we got Stardust Dragon for the Malefic, but there was actually a situation that came up where I actually summoned it. I used an Ash Blossom in my hand and a Scythe I already had to summon Stardust. And the reason I did that is because I didn't have access to Sanctum, but I had a back to the front, which means on my opponent's turn I could still scythe them, which scything your opponent is usually more powerful than using Ash on your opponent. The Cyber Dragon targets, I obviously explained this. This hits Mechabuzz that are behind Link Monster, which is really, really important against that deck. 2 Windows. I really like the Shawl Engine. There is a lot of times where I actually want to main deck it, but if I'm going to main deck a card for combating board, it's actually just better to use Cyber Dragon for that. But I really like the Shawls. They just help so much. The links, I'll explain the links real quick, but let's go into it. Link, Spider, Pentastag, Underclock Taker, Phoenix, Cerberus, Power Code Talker, Unicorn, Griffin, and Wee Witch. Now, there's no Borreload or Boral Sword. I was testing them online quite a bit, and I discovered that I was never summoning them, so I took a real look at why they were in my extra deck, and Borreload has absolutely no application in this deck, because the only time I would ever want to make a Borreload is to out something that Borreload can out, which most of the time is another Borreload. But in order for me to make a Borreload Dragon, I would have to link away and out to Borreload Dragon. Which, when you put it into perspective like that, it's literally just a wasted spot. Because not only does my deck have a lot of outs to Borreload Dragon, it has Compulse, it has Moral Talk, it has any of the Tributors with Lair. Diablos can crash, ram it in, and kill it. Just like Borreload outing Borreload was just not a problem. And in other scenarios, like they don't have any Borreload. It wasn't offering me anything, and in order to make the Borreload, I had to it wasn't worth it, because the monsters I was using to make Borreload were better than Borreload could ever imagine being. It was the same with Firewall, it was the same with Boral Sword, and it was really, really weird. I even thought about, Bomber Dragon could probably be in here and it'd be more usable than either of those 3. Just because the applications they are giving you, you have to link away what you had that already did what they did to make them, which at that point it's just a waste of time. There's no reason to have them in your extra deck. But then let me explain the small links. So you don't want to link away your disruptions. You don't want to link away your Lilith. You don't want to link away your Diablos if you can't resummon it. You don't want to link away all your stuff unless it already has no value. And in that case, you don't have very many monsters to link away with. So what these small links do is they just make what you have better, rather than getting rid of everything you have to make almost blank card. So Pentastag, this one's actually really cool. If you have a monster pointed to, that monster does piercing battle damage. Which is really cool, because if you summon this and summon BLS over it, it does 5k damage against a torment token. And then that's an extra 16. If you have another monster, that's game, which is really cool. Underclock, I really like. Pretty cool. Link Spider, it's just to turn a torment token into a different name that is an effect monster, which is important for Pentastag, Underclock, and the Nightmares. Which, speaking of those, Nightmares, sometimes you make Link Spider just so you can get a draw off those guys. Power Code, this one's really cool because I can just use as many Torment tokens as I want, which is fine. I don't really care for the Torment tokens. But, not a quick effect, but he can target a monster and negate its effects. And then when he battles something, he can attribute something he points to double his attack, which would be 46. And the key word there is also tribute. So if you link away a Diabolos, you can trigger it. Hold on. Actually, no, you can't. I forgot about that. It only does in damage calculation. But it tributes it, so it triggers Lair Darkness. Unicorn, very good. If you link Spidered and Nightmare, usually turn those into Unicorn to disestablish a lot more. And you drew a card, so you're not wasting more than you needed to. Griffin, I know I said a lot of not good stuff about the Link 4s in this deck, but it's because the Link 4s I was talking about don't offer anything I don't already have. Griffin, on the other hand, is very different because there's nothing in my deck that does what he does. You can turn a Nightmare with Link Spider and another monster into this, and this recycles your trap cards, and that's really important. If you're in a situation where you can't kill them, you always want to just keep them under Scythe, so you can grab back a Sanctum or back to the front to Scythe them again, and that's really good because he's also a Floodgate afterwards, so once you summon him, you'll summon Scythe to a zone he points to, and then you lock your opponent out of the game in 2 ways at that point. So he's very good for that. And then Wee Witch, not even the fact that it gives a boost, because if you have Lair, it boosts everything on the field. But it's a floater, and that's what really matters. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this really long video. It feels like I've been talking forever. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy this. I'm going to keep testing this deck more and more, because depending on what our next list is, I'm probably playing this deck actually competitively. And the reason I say competitively is because not too long ago they made top 8 at a regional, and then another regional they made top 16. And I've been refining their list, in a way. I've been refining what they have made, and I'm trying to make the most optimal Lair Darkness list. And if it's optimal enough, maybe it does have a slight chance of maybe getting a top 32 or at a YCS, or just topping or even winning a regionals. And if that's the case, that's really cool, because even though I give this deck a lot of shit because at the end of the day it isn't that great, I do like its toolbox, and I actually just like the way the deck plays. It's really cool. Even though it is trap cards, Scythe your opponent, floodgate them out of the game, it doesn't do anything that unfair, because it doesn't try to combo your opponent out of the game. You're activating trap cards, you're activating trap monster effects, so it's kind of a pain in the ass for your opponent, but it's not really that unfair, and that's what I really like about the deck. It's really cool. It's actually interactive. It doesn't try to combo your opponent out of the game. It just tries to activate trap cards and see if you have a response to them. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for watching, and remember, Master Dinnerflex will take your soul.